Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Hebrew Torah 101. Who hardened the heart of Pharaoh? Was it God himself or Pharaoh? One thing that needs to be understood before we even get into the topic is that the God of the Torah has foreknowledge of events before they even take place in reality. So we're going to look at some examples of that first before we get into the topic. So in Exodus chapter 3 and verse 12 we have, "And he said," which is God, "because I will be with you," talking to Moses, "and this is for you the sign that I sent you when you caused to bring out the people from Egypt. You shall all serve the God upon this mountain." For context, this is Exodus chapter 3, where God speaks to Moses out of the burning bush at Mount Sinai at Mount Horeb. And he tells him that when all these events take place and transpire, that you all will come serve me here upon this mountain, and oath, and this is the sign that I sent you. Okay, so this is God's foreknowledge of the events before they even take place, that he knows for a fact that when he sends Moses to bring the people out, they're going to come worship him upon this mountain. This is the same mountain that the tablets were given to Moses, where he went up to the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights and got the laws and statutes and commandments of God to give to the people of Israel. So this is the same mountain in context. So later when we fast forward down to verse 19 in the same chapter, God says, "I know that he will not give you, the king of Egypt, to go, not except by a strong hand. And I will send my hand, and I will strike the Egyptians and all my wonders, which I will do in his midst. And after so, he shall send you, YHWH, he shall send you after this." So this is God's foreknowledge of the event before it takes place. Now, since we understand that God has foreknowledge of events before they take place, now we need to talk about the Pharaoh. What kind of person are we dealing with? The Pharaoh, before God even encounters him by sending Moses, is somebody who's already stubborn. All right, he's abusing the people of Israel, and they have a history of doing so. All right, so when God sends Moses, he's already knowing that the Pharaoh is going to have a stubborn heart. He's not going to send the people, like we read before, except by a strong hand. This is not to take away from the free will that the Pharaoh has. All human beings inside the Torah have free will. They have the ability to choose right from wrong. However, the Pharaoh has his mind set on doing wrong with no thoughts of repenting and changing his mind. And this is why God knows that when he sends Moses, he's going to be stubborn. He's not going to send the people, and God is going to make his heart harden by way of his signs. So he says in this verse, God says to Moses, "When you go to return to Egypt, see all the wonders which I put in your hand, and do them before Pharaoh, and I will harden his heart." So it's going to be by the act of God's miracles and his wonders that's going to harden Pharaoh's heart. He's going to be stubborn, and it's going to make him upset, and he's going to refuse to let the people go. So we have in Exodus chapter 7 and verse 3, "And I will harden the heart of Pharaoh, and I will multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. And he will not listen to you, the Pharaoh, and I will put my hand against Egypt, and I will bring out my host, my people, Bnei Israel, from the land of Egypt with a great judgment." So before we continue, let's think of the matter in this way. You're at war with the enemy. You understand your enemy to be stubborn. You know, he's very hot-headed and tempered. He's very emotional. You know, if you do a thing, he's going to react to it, and it's going to frustrate him. All right, so in the same way, this is the same way that God is dealing with Pharaoh. All right, he understands his enemy, he understands that he's stubborn. So he's going to do certain things to trigger, his emotions, and that's going to anger him. So for an example, we have in Exodus chapter 8 and verse 27. "And God did like Moses said, and he turned the swarm from Pharaoh and from his servants and from his people, and there was not one left over, none remaining." Then we have YHWH et libo. So then we have, "And Pharaoh hardened his heart." Why did Pharaoh harden his heart? Because the judgment that God gave. God's judgment caused Pharaoh's heart to be hardened. When he sees the judgment, his heart becomes hardened. So he hardens his own heart. Remember, he has free will. He can choose to change, but he won't change. His heart is already hard, so it will not change. It's in a state of hardness, stubbornness. So this is the cause of his heart being hardened. Now, somebody may say, oh, man, this guy is trying to cope. That's not true. That's not common language. That's not a common writing theme in the Torah. That's a contradiction, and he knows it. Well, if that's true, let's go back to when we first started in Exodus chapter 3, where God was speaking to Moses. And I'm going to show you the same context being used, the same phraseology and literature being used in reference to Moses as well. So let's go back to Exodus chapter 3 and verse 12. So we have God saying to Moses, and I will send you when you bring the people. So this is when, in the Hifil verse, then, meaning God is saying he's going to cause Moses to bring the people from Mitzrayim, from Egypt. So Moses is the one that's going to bring the people out from the land of Egypt. Now, let's look at another verse that quote-unquote contradicts this verse. So let's fast forward back to Exodus chapter 7 and verse 3, where we first read, I will harden the heart of Pharaoh, and I will multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt, and he will not listen to you, the Pharaoh, and I will put my hand against Egypt. وَهُسَيْثِي إِذْ أُثَى إِذْ عَمِي بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ مِيرِتْ مِسْرَائِيم. And I will cause to come out, to bring out my host, my people, Bnei Israel, from the land of Egypt. Now, somebody may say, well, this is another contradiction. No, it's not a contradiction. Again, this is common speech within the Torah itself. So here we have God saying he's going to be the one that causes the people to come out from Egypt. And in Exodus 3 and verse 12, you have God telling Moses he's going to be the one that causes the people to come out from the land of Egypt. This is not a contradiction. This is common theme language within the Torah itself. Or where God is the one causing the events to take place by using agents to fulfill his will, to make things come to pass. So God is the orchestrator. He's the author of the events as they take place.